Hey guys, PIEGUYRULZ here, and it's not often we get good news, but here it is. Avatar: The Legend of Korra is out. I'm gonna be talking about the first two episodes because even though only the first one aired, I think only the first one aired, both episodes are up online and for free downloads on iTunes. I mean, that's pretty awesome. But yeah, so this is going to be kind of an in-depth discussion here, talking about some of the high points and some of the low points and everything in between. But let me just say this straight out: there's a lot of high points, and the low points are more on Nickelodeon's side. Okay, so let's begin this where it should begin. Apparently, they had a big promotion a while back called Korra Nation, which was like a big Twitter thing and a social media thing where it's like if you got so many people to follow it on Facebook, they would release the first episode or two online, which is cool. And that's how I ended up seeing the episodes. Although I apparently never knew about it, and not that I'm really watching what I should be watching to get that kind of information, but typically, I follow Nick on Twitter, and I get emails from them, and I'm typically try to keep up with stuff like that, but I didn't hear about it. But anyway, it did well enough, and that's why the episodes were out early, and which is cool. But it does lead me to wonder something. Did I can't believe I'm even saying this, but this is gonna hurt them, you know? Now, we already know that the internet and, releasing Netflix and all that sort of thing have been hurting the television industry because people aren't watching the TV, people are watching the computer. And, well, this is gonna hurt it. I mean, think about it like this. If you've already seen the premiere online, commercial free, why would you tune in the night of the premiere? I didn't. I probably would have if I hadn't seen it online. It really makes me wonder, like, why they kind of did that. Like, I think it was cool. I think it was a cool promotion, but I think it's gonna hurt, and I don't understand it unless they're finally realizing the good of the internet and to utilize it as a source instead of using it as a competitor. But let's hope they don't just look at the premiere and be like, oh, well, it only gained this many views, because they need to look at the whole picture here, because, that's what it is. And, I mean, that was the only thing, that's really one of the only things I have to say that's bad about the series is that, and I'm already taking a preemptive strike about Nickelodeon screwing this one over like they did with, the ending of Avatar. Man, they rushed that one out. But anyway, so into the good stuff here. The Legend of Korra, and before we get into the actual show, let's talk about some more meta stuff here. The Legend of Korra. Why is that the title? Well, it's a little bit thanks to James Cameron. You see, it wasn't. They didn't get sued per se, but both James Cameron, the guy from the Avatar movie, even though, hey, Nickelodeon's Avatar was first, and Avatar as a word has been used countless times in fiction, like in the Ultima series and stuff. It's not like a trademarked thing. But anyway, they decided for the better that in the United States they would drop Avatar and just call it The Legend of Korra, and then James Cameron would kind of get the Avatar name. I think it's stupid. I don't think people were really confusing it, especially if you call it Avatar: The Legend of Korra. If you were to just call it Avatar, then there would be some confusion, but really, I don't know, both the movie and the show have such diehard fans that you'd be hard-pressed to confuse them. And my phone is going off in a video. This is not professional. No, bad phone. Okay, sorry about that, my phone went off. Anyway, so yeah, there's not much overlap. I don't understand why. I mean, I guess I kind of understand why they changed it, but there was no lawsuit, and for international releases, it's called Avatar: The Legend of Korra. I'm calling it Avatar: The Legend of Korra because I think it's cooler to have like the big bracket of Avatar, and then Aang's journey was The Last Airbender, and Korra's is The Legend of Korra. I think that's much cooler than Avatar: The Last Airbender and The Legend of Korra. I think branding-wise, it sounds better, but whatever. Especially considering international, it was called like Avatar: The Legend of Aang or something, or The Journey of Aang or something like that. Anyway, this is just minor nitpicking. The show itself, phenomenal. I mean, the animation is beautiful, and they even fine-tuned it from the original, from The Last Airbender. Like, they even upped the animation. They gave it better quality. Stop that. And, yeah, the animation quality is great. Nickelodeon, from what it looks like, had very little to no executive meddling, except for their stupid logo on the cover there. You got, like, the epic legend of Korra in that cool text, and then you got Nickelodeon's big fat orange logo slapped on the top. I'm like, wow, here's something epic, and you just slap your name right on top of it. Good job, Nickelodeon. I like the little intro there, and I like how it's different for the pilot episode, or the first episode, compared to the rest of the series. Because I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't like the Last Airbender's pilot. It didn't hook me. I mean, looking back, it's alright, I guess, but it's not what hooked me, and it was kind of clumsy. Like, for instance, you didn't have hybrid animals, which were a staple of the show, since, like, midway through the first season. The writing was a little bit more clunky. The show didn't really know where it was going. But whereas this, they have it planned out. It's the benefit of having a spin-off of a successful franchise, is that you're set in a world that it's already working. So you've already got a head start. It's great because you don't need a pilot, because you run with the idea. Although this episode is very much set up, the first one, it sets up a lot of things. I like how Katara's still around as this really old lady. I like she's like her gran. I like how Aang's son Tenzin is just no nonsense, whereas his kids are just goofy and off the wall. And they're all airbenders from Tenzin's lineage, and he also has, I think they said, a water-bending son and a non-bending son, and they're named after, or a non-bending daughter, or something like that. I don't know. They're named after King Boomy, and I think Katara's mom. But I don't know. There's plenty of great references to the show, to the first show. And as far as, like, who's alive and who's not alive, even though the creators explicitly said no one is alive, shame on you, because Katara is alive. We know Sokka's dead. She says, my brother and some of my friends have long passed. Aang is dead, but being the previous Avatar, he's gonna show up. Like, his face has already shown up. He's in the theme song. He's the one with the air, who shows off the air, bending thing. And seeing as how much Roku played a part in Last Airbender, it seems like Aang will be showing up. So, and we don't know about Toph, and we don't know about Zuko. Although we do know about Toph's daughter being the head of police and no nonsense and just like, and a metalbender, and like with a whole team of metalbenders. That's awesome. That was something they did really cool. That they did really well. That was a really cool concept. I like Korra being like really just abrasive. I like how airbending's the one that she can't get, because in the last series, we saw mostly airbending. Like, that was the element we saw more than anything else, was airbending. And now here we don't see, we see her not airbending at all. And that's cool. It's cool that she has a different challenge than Aang. And it's cool that she's a different character, but she's still very similar. Like, you can kind of see some of Aang in her. Like, you see some of, just his energy and his, embracive can-do attitude. And yet, she's still very different, a very different breed. And airbending is tougher for her because of her personality. And because she's so fiery and so, like, tackle any challenge head on and stuff. So that's really cool. I like Republic City. I think they did a cool job of, like, basically making New York City. I like, how the Order of the White Lotus is the ones that are kind of looked after the Avatar now. One thing I didn't like, oh god, there's so cliche at the beginning when Tenzin's all like, I can't stay in the Water Tribe, I wish I could, but I gotta go back to Republic City. And Korra's like, I'll go with you. And the guy at the White Lotus is like, preposterous! You are not allowed to vacate the premises! This is too stuffy in here, and you must stay here because that's what Avataring would have liked, for you to be locked up here. And it's just like, really? Like, You're not fooling anyone. It's such an overused trope of the, the mentor guy being just like, oh, preposterous, you must stay here. You're not allowed to have fun. And it's like, of course she's gonna stow away. Of course she's gonna go to Republic City. Although I don't think, that was supposed to be kept as a surprise. I like how, even for the first episode, the shippers have latched onto a ship, and I'm totally on board with this one. Sparkly, sparkly Bushman and his bush. That is a great ship right there. That is better than all the Zutaras and Katangs out there. One of probably the most controversial parts of the series so far is the whole 1920s New York City setting. I mean, I gotta admit, I was not expecting it. I knew it was gonna take place a long time after Aang, but the 1920s with phonographs and sadomobiles, which are cars, which is weird that only cars have different naming, and yet, things like phonographs have the same name. As a little bit weird there, but, otherwise, yeah, I'm all for it. I think they may have gone a little bit too far with, having video and microphones and stuff, but it's cool to see. It's cool to see it in a new light, and it's a good idea. For contrasting of the original series, that plus, the stable one city setting as opposed to roaming the world. Although, it seems like there's going to be a lot in this city for Korra to, get into. And they established enough with, the police being no-nonsense and strict. And they established that, this is a world, this is a city now where you can't just do whatever you want. You can't wreck Cabbage Man's stand and expect not to get fined for it. No. That's not how this works. And the equalists and stuff. I'm gonna throw this out there, and this might sound like a crazy fanboy thought. Is it just me? Or does the Republic City, does the whole thing remind you of that city in the Unova region of Pokemon Black and White? The one big city, the name escapes me. But is it just me, or is it I know they're both based around New York City, but they look really close with the ports, and they got the cities, and the Equalist is kind of like N, and the Separatists for the Pokemon. It's really weird. If you start to draw parallels like that, it's just weird. But that's just a random parallel that only I would probably think of. So yeah, let's see, pilot episode. Let me see what else. What other things am I thinking of here? Can't think of anything else. How is there another flying bison? How did... it's clearly stated it's not Appa, it's another name, but, what? When did I... Maybe I forgot something from the original series. Maybe they found more bison. I guess that's also possible. They could have found more bison. So, yeah, and it's a little bit... The plot is a little bit on the cliche side, but they had to set up a lot, and they had to establish a lot, and they had to, draw you into the world again, and they did a good job in that. And the last thing I have to comment on as the series as a whole before I go on to review episode 2 is the music. The music is bloody brilliant. It's this jazzy mixed with Asian, mixed with it's the first Avatar's, that soundtrack mixed with 1920s jazz, and it's dun 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 dun. It's really upbeat and really crazy, and it's so cool. It's such a cool motif for the city and for Korra in general. Okay, now on to episode 2, Be the Leaf. So the main hook of this episode is also establishing the two new characters, Bolin and name escapes me, not Zuko. Yeah, so not Sokka and not Zuko. And establishing pro-bending. Again, a little bit cliche with Tenzin being no pro-bending, it's bad, blah, 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 blah. When, again, he's being stuffy and old-timey, and, this is the wave of the future. Although I guess that's a theme of the series, old versus new. Because because Korra being the new, and, obviously everything we know from the old series being the old. And it's cool. And pro-bending, oh, God, they did such a cool job. Any other show would have just established a thing with very vague rules and not actually make it a game. Just make it something that looks cool. But no. This thing has, established rules. You could... you can't actually play this game because you're not a bender. But, they have it all set up that, you know, whenever THQ wants to make a video game, they have it right there. But it's really cool, and it is a really cool way to see bending. And I like the two new characters. Again, is like, it's totally not Sokka and not Zuko, and I mean they're not one character, you know, relationships. I.e., Bolin, the not Sokka, is a ladies' man, whereas Sokka, kind of a ladies' man, but kind of a failure ladies' man. But Bolin's all, you know, like, happy, and then the other one's all broody, brood, yeah. So that's pretty much it, and the whole thing is overlaid with the lesson of Korra starting her airbending training and not being able to be the leaf, or, you know, be kind of nimble on her feet, and, you know, she's just kind of abrasive in earthbending kind of type thing. Like, she can't be nimble. And yeah, it's cool. So pro bending was awesome. You know, Milo is hilarious. The little Aang's grandson. Man, Milo steals the show whenever he's on. He's hilarious. And oh, the one thing I forgot to mention in the first episode. Speaking of Aang's grandkids, the creators trolled us. They totally trolled us. Cause one of Aang's grandkids is like, "Hey, Katara, I've been reading about your adventures. What about Zuko's mom? Whatever happened to him?" And Katara's like, "Oh, it's a great story with such a great and powerful message." And then Aang's other grandchild is like, "I want to bend snow and play with snowman." And everyone's just like, "Really? You're such trolls." Break. But yeah, the series as a whole is great. I can't really praise it enough. It's so refreshing to see a show like this, and to see that Nickelodeon has been promoting it is a good thing. I mean, I wish networks would understand they could do more of this type of thing. And I mean, it walks the greatest line of them all in that it is a story, you know, like both the Last Airbender and this, and that it's a story with a story arc and arcing characters, and it's set its own universe with its own rules and its own powers. And it's for everyone. It is just plain and simple for everyone. There's nothing in it that's not kid-friendly, but at the same time, you look hard enough and you'll find things that are mature, you know, but they're not open enough so that kids can, you know, so that kids will imitate or anything like that. It's just, it's so subtle and so wonderful. You know, and it's got its goofy moments, but it's also got its serious moments, and it's got its, you know, character moments, and it's got its, you know, philosophy moments. I remember there was one of the last episodes of The Last Airbender was Aang contemplating of whether he should or could kill the Fire Lord. You know, that's deep stuff right there. And although I always like to see it as Aang pretty much arguing with Nick executives, "Psst, can we get away with this? Should we actually kill him, or should we come out with some other cop-out?" Although I didn't think the finale was a cop-out, although some people did, but that's beyond, you know. That's not what we're here to talk about. This is The Legend of Korra, you know, Last Airbender. There's enough homage paid to the original series, you know, to that we don't know who's going to be popping up. You know, we've already got ties to pretty much everyone but Sokka and Zuko. And with Zuko possibly being alive, who knows? You know, who knows who else is alive? You know, we could have, like, Cabbage Man's grandson, you know, like Potato Man, you know? We could have Foamy Mouth Guy's grandson, you know, maybe he's got, like, I don't know, Tourette's or something. But it's set up, the world is set up in such a way that it's going to be a great ride, and it's going to be cool. The whole, the Equalist, I like the Equalist, you know, enemies. I like the whole philosophy behind it. It's like, well, you know, there are these group of people here who are greater than us, and what do we do? You know, you're a normal in a world of people who can do amazing things. What do you do? You know, Sokka found his way, but I can imagine it'd be frustrating. You know, being born into a family with a bunch of benders, it would suck. I also like another thing that we didn't get to see in the first series. It's like, you know, mixed bending. You know, like whenever you saw a firebender in the first series, it's pretty much a bad guy. You know, here it's just like people can firebend, people can earthbend, people can waterbend. You know, and they're all in the city. They're all mixed up together. And there's, you know, there's only the one airbending family, but, you know, there's Tenzin, and then there's his 3 kids, plus there's one more on the way who's possibly a bender. That's 5 airbenders in the city, you know, more so than anywhere else in the world. And it also gets into something which the original series, for the life of me, I can't remember it ever doing, where there's mixed children. Like, for instance, Aang's kids are a waterbender, a non-bender, and an airbender. And, you know, we don't see that. We don't see families of mixed bending lineage. We don't see what happens. And the brothers we're introduced to, Natsuko and Natsaka, they're an earthbender and an earthbender and a firebender. And I don't know, I mean, maybe they're hinting at the fact that they're adopted, or they're just like, they're not actually related brothers, they're just kind of like brothers forged in flames, like they adopted each other. But either way, it's still cool to see interaction between all the different nations, and, you know, it seems like a very natural progression for the world of the Avatar. Whew. Okay, that was a mouthful. I hope I didn't bore you guys. If you want me to maybe keep on reviewing the series as the episodes come out, that might be cool if you want me to review them, like, you know, couplets, 2 episodes. This was a lot of, you know, talking about more of the philosophy of the series than, you know, actually reviewing episodes. So if I reviewed episodes, it wouldn't be this long. But yeah, alright. Pie Guy rules.